this is Catherine, aka Punch Life Back, bringing you your Beyond Zero tidbit, and we are the Matrix Guard. So, today's tidbit is all about goblins, the trashiest of trash talkers, which is really just my fun way of saying this is about our inner critics and what we can do about it. Alright, so we all have a critical inner voice that holds us back. It's continually convincing us to play small and live small. I think of our critics like monsters, but instead of poison and like razor sharp claws or like slime, they're attacking us with thoughts. And they're deceptively masquerading those thoughts as absolute truths. So I call my inner critic a goblin. In traditional Eastern why is that hard to say? Folklore. Woo! Okay. My goblin's speaking up in my head. A goblin is a mischievous and usually very unpleasant, vengeful, and greedy creature whose primary purpose is to cause trouble to us, to mankind. So, yes, there are critics outside of us too, and they also can have a destructive impact in our lives. These are, the people who like to also similarly tear us down and try to keep us playing small and living small. There is an amazing 5-minute Brene Brown video I'm going to link to for you guys, and she really has those two types of critics pinned down. So yes, they are real. Yes, when we start to show up more and more authentically and living on purpose in our lives, we will get our butts kicked by our critics, inner and outer. But like Brene Brown referencing the man in the arena, we too will be living a heroic life full of meaning, and it is worth it. So, we've explored previously how our thoughts create our emotions, create our actions. Our goblins feed us the most powerfully negative thoughts that we have. They are often behind our most unpleasant feelings and our most destructive choices. They turn our self-esteem into mush, and they convince us that to feel shame, right? And to always doubt whether we are truly worthy of love and belonging or whether we are enough. So I'm also linking a video, it's a little bit longer, from Steve Chapman. It's a TED Talk. It is amazing. He does the best visuals and just exploration of what our goblins are like and what they do to us. I highly recommend you watch it. Okay, so remember Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, right? I look at it as a model for living a full and meaningful life. So it's our goblin that keeps us from answering our call to adventure and stepping outside of our home where we're safe and comfortable, across that threshold into the unknown where we're not safe, we're not comfortable, but where the adventure of life and growth and the rewards of the journey and the friendship, all the good stuff lives out there, right? So the goblin keeps us from doing that. And if you manage to overcome him and you do step on that adventure across that threshold into the unknown, it is the goblin that's constantly telling you to run back home, to turn back around and give up. If you listen to that goblin, either before setting out on your adventure or while on your adventure, what happens? You don't grow as much. You don't meet your fellowship of inspired, quirky, kindred companions. You don't get what you want. You don't get what you dream of. You don't get to return home as a hero, having made the world a better place. And most of all, I think you live never knowing what it feels like to be fully alive. At best, you survive. You don't get to thrive. So you can, in a way, think of your goblin as a curse. And as far as curses go, it's a doozy, right? Its purpose is to keep you weak. It makes you play small. No hero's adventure for you because you aren't good enough and you're incapable of becoming good enough. But why do we have this curse? Where do these goblins come from? Well, it turns out we all get them in our childhood. Yay! No. One day we stepped outside of the safety of our nest and our home with our parents, and we met with some sort of emotional disaster. Maybe your fly was down and everybody laughed at you. Maybe you publicly peed your pants. Maybe you were like me and you fell in love with a pair of shiny marine boots. You bought them, and then everybody at school hated you and made fun of you because of your boot choice. It's ridiculous, but it's true. It's true. So our goblin was born out of shame, and its purpose is to protect us from ever feeling that way again. So it's like a toxic protective mechanism, or an overprotective parent who doesn't want us to try something new because we might get hurt. What can we do about it, guys? A lot, it turns out. So goblins, as powerful as they seem, are only thoughts. And what do we know about thoughts? Well, they're not absolute truth. They're not facts. They are things that arise and fall within our own brain. They hold no power except what we give them. So when we don't pay attention to our gremlins, or our goblins, or our beasties, whatever you like to call it, when we don't pay attention to them, they kind of just run rampant in our brain. We are on this trash-talking autopilot disaster train. So we don't control our emotions or our actions when we're unaware. But as soon as we bring that awareness to bear and we shine a light on them, we rob them of their power and we can take back control of our life. So I have one more video I'm linking to if you want to watch it. It's short. It's one of my favorites. It's hilarious. I think of goblins who are left to remain in the dark in our brains like that video. So I hope you watch it. So it's really time for us to stop identifying with our goblins, and we want to start realizing that it is just a thinking pattern. So the first step is to personalize our goblin, and this helps because right now we over-identify, right, with our goblin. So we're trying to break that. We're going to personify it, which is why I call it a goblin. So you want to give it a name to distance yourself from it. And ideally, this is not the name of somebody you know, and it's, a new name to you. You can also give it a form, which is why I chose goblin. You could make it a dragon. You can make it a headless monster, whatever. And if you want, and this is the kind of thing that inspires you, take time to draw it or paint it. Make some sort of physical expression of your goblin to further distance yourself from it. Part 2 is you want to increase your awareness of what the goblin is telling you so you can challenge it. So goblins tend to talk in I statements because that's more personal. We identify with an I statement and we're more likely to take it as truth. So if you can, when you're able to catch a gremlin statement, you want to change it into a you statement. That's because, one, a you statement is easier to challenge because you don't identify with a you statement. 2, it triggers our fight response, which we need against our goblins. So for example, if my goblin is telling me, oh, Catherine, you can't write a book, you have nothing worth saying, nothing new to say. I would translate that to, oh, Catherine, you shouldn't write a book, you have nothing worth saying, nothing new to say. You see the difference? It's big. It starts to shift it. And then you want to challenge the thought because goblins are unrealistically negative, and you lessen their power by restating their words more realistically. So you don't have to refute it completely. You just have to be more realistic about it. So that thought of, oh, you shouldn't write a book, you have nothing worth saying. The next step would be to refute that. So it could look like, yeah, my book probably won't change the world, but it will change someone's life, and that's good enough for me. Or, writing is an adventure worth taking regardless of how good or bad the final book is. You see? Yes, you do. Part 3 is really that it's a total mindset shift from what I've been presenting. I've been saying this is a toxic, curse that you have, and that's true. It doesn't have to be viewed that way though, so we can befriend our goblins. And I recommend this because we're never going to overcome them completely. Remember, this is a protective mechanism of our brain. So there is a reason that it's there. And we're never gonna just kill them or destroy them or anything like that. So we might as well befriend them and, cozy up a little bit to your overprotective side. So instead of hating them, we can embrace them as a lifelong companion. And they are like well-intentioned friends, right? Who don't know how to love us. Don't know the skills of loving and supporting someone really, really well, but we care about them. Or they're like overprotective parents who are trying their hardest to keep us safe, but they're doing it in all the wrong ways. So if you still have like negativity or anger or judgment, resentment towards your goblin, it might help to practice gratitude towards him and her. So the way that I do it is, when my goblin, whose name is Bob, speaks up, I will say something like, you know what? Thank you, Bob, for reminding me how important this is to me. The louder and meaner you get, the more I'm reminded of just how much I care about this, and the more likely I am to take action. Yeah. When I'm able to remember and notice the goblin message and then I can do this, it's really powerful. Lastly, if you really want to take this farther, you can write them a thank you letter, a poem, a song, whatever. You get what I'm saying. So that's it, folks. Thank you so much. Until next time, stay true and never settle. Mwah, 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 mwah. Bye.